Good evening and welcome to Crystal Clear Conversations. I'm your guest host, Tanisha Spears, on this evening, and we have a magnificent show for you on today. I have a panel of guests here, and they all are here. They're going to give you some grand information for this awesome month of multiple sclerosis awareness. Some of you know it as MS. Our guests tonight are Ms. Tasha Watson and her mother, Ms. Leslie Watson. We have Mr. Trey Peoples and his mom, Ms. Carol Peoples. And they are here to share, give you some knowledge on this evening. So you stay tuned. Trey, I'm going to start with you since you're the baby of the crew. What age were you diagnosed with MS?
I was 15 years old.
15? Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Were you playing sports or involved in anything at the time?
Yes, I was a freshman in high school playing football.
Amazing. And did that affect you in any kind of way? Like, did you have to stop playing football? Or, what happened?
Yes, I did have to stop playing football. I was having symptoms at the time.
What type of symptoms were you having? Like, did you have a headache? Did you say, you were on a football field and you just started aching? What symptoms?
Well, I started having like these flare-ups in my right and left side, to where my left leg and right leg would drag behind me when I would walk, and I felt like I couldn't breathe at times. And it was sort of like the symptoms similar to a stroke.
At age 15.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. How did you feel, Carol, as his mom, hearing that diagnosis of your baby?
Well, at first, when he called me, well, he came home one day, they had to do laps around the track. And he was like, Mommy, when I was running today, it was like I couldn't hardly run, and my leg was dragging or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe he was having a spasm or something. But so one day I was at the school, and we had a meeting with the teacher, and he got up to get ready to move, to go home, and he started having one of those episodes, is what I call it. And I literally thought he was having a seizure combined with a stroke. It scared me to death. It was horrible. So we immediately went to his doctor's office. They tried to tell me that, oh, it's just growing pains. It's nothing. It's just growing pains. I'm like, that is not growing pains. You're not going to tell me. So I told them that I was going to go to, actually I said Duke, but we actually ended up going to Chapel Hill. And we went to Chapel Hill. They done blood work and everything. And they, you know how it takes a little bit of time for them to call you back.
Yeah.
Well, when the doctor called back, she said, well, we did find out what it is, and we'd like for you, your husband, and Trey to come in. Well, now I am delirious because that was going to be 3 days later, and I am like not doing well with that. And so we finally got to the doctor's office, and there was a nurse there. Her name was Teresa. I will never forget her. She called, we were at Chapel Hill, and you know how the doctor's offices out there, they're like packed with people. And she came literally straight to Trey. Literally straight to Trey. Out of all of the people, she didn't know who we were. Oh, wow. She walked straight to Trey and she said, Trey Peoples? And Trey, I said, yes, we go back there. This nurse could have, called her name too. May not be still there. And she literally spoke into Trey's life. She prophesied it to Trey. Told Trey, you would have thought she knew Trey from the day he was born.
Wow.
Like literally. And she said to me, it does not matter what the doctor says to him today. She says, he will live. She said, I see him doing all these things all over the world. And she spoke on everything that Trey was, like literally everything Trey was. And after when she told me she saw Trey doing all these things all over the world for all of these years, I was okay with whatever the doctor said because I'm like, if God said he's going to do that, he has to live. So I was okay. It was like I was at peace with that. I was at peace with this. After that, I looked better. I don't think we as parents ever really get okay with it because we want our children to be thriving up and well and everything, and we want to. If we could take everything from them, we would. And so but I was much better because I knew he would live, and so I was good after that.
That is awesome. She didn't even know who you were.
No,
when you came.
she didn't, and she prophesied it into Trey's life.
Before the doctor even gave you the diagnosis.
She gave him. She said, I have $6 here in my watch, and she said, I'm going to give it to you. She said, we still have it in frame. She said, because you have the purest soul that I've ever seen.
Unbelievable. But she's right. She was on it, right?
I was much better after that because those 3 days were not good for me.
Oh, I'm sure. 3 days I've been messed up. But you got that prophecy and that word before that diagnosis.
And when I asked Trey about, after the doctor told us what the diagnosis and everything was, I asked Trey about, how do you feel, Trey? How do you feel about what the doctor said today? How do you feel about what you have and everything? Now, on the inside, I'm still like, and he was like, you know what, Mommy? And this, if you know Trey, this is Trey. Mm-hmm. You know what, Mommy? He said, if this is the path what God has me to go through, I'm okay with that. I'm going to do it. And me as a mommy, I'm like, wanting to say, no, I do not. I don't want to do this. And I'm like, you know what? That's so Trey.
Yeah.
That's so Trey. And from that day up until now, he has been a Trojan. He gives me the. I want to be like him when I go.
Right. Wow. We all could be a Trey when we get a diagnosis of any sort to be able to receive what the doctor said and still going to live your blessed life, your best life with MS. Natasha, how old were you when you found out as a female?
Yes, ma'am. I was actually 19 years old when I was diagnosed.
Oh, okay. Were you employed, working? Have you always been in a wheelchair before you got diagnosed?
No, ma'am. I have not always been in a wheelchair. Upon my diagnosis, I was actually a senior in high school. For those that do know me, I have a son now. He's 24, and I was pregnant with him, or actually, I just had him when I was diagnosed. He was a baby. I had him my senior year in high school. When I was 18, and then turned 19, is when I was diagnosed with MS.
Wow, that had to be a bit devastating.
Yes.
I mean, we're female, so our emotions rock a little differently.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure. Were you having symptoms as a female? I know you had your son, so you were 19 at that time, though.
Actually, I was having some symptoms as far as it was in my hands. So I could be, writing a paper or just something like that. Throughout the years, I do remember, and Mom sometimes has to remind me, but my hand would hurt or get really tired when I would write. And then it got to the point where I could be holding the pen and writing and drop it and not know that I had dropped it.
Oh, wow.
And then that went on just for a little while. To me, that was something small. I kind of overlooked it. But then one day, we were living in Virginia, and we were standing on the second floor of my aunt's home, and my whole body, from head to toe, just went limp. No, I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. And my mother had to take me down that second flight of steps to take me to the emergency room. And upon going to the emergency room, of course, they do all these tests and everything. And the doctor says, oh, well, it looks like you have MS. and basically just sent us back home.
Really?
No way.
Yes. And it was like, of course, I'm like 19 and, not really, how 19-year-olds are. It's like, okay, whatever. And I went back to my normal, like my body went back to normal and everything. And I was fine for about 10 years. I went back to school, graduated and everything. I went to college for CNA, was working, taking care of my son.
Okay, so right there. When you got the diagnosis in 19, bodies shut down, go to the emergency room. They say, oh, you might have MS. At that point, did you give you medication? Nothing?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Oh,
Like I said, like you have MS and basically sent us home.
So 10 years later, you living with the...
I was living, had finished school, and then I started working in child care, and started having some issues at work, where I couldn't really care for the kids, the preschool kids, and I would fall at work. My walking slowed down to where I had to hold on like the chairs and the wall and things like that. And my doctor was like, we're going to have to take you out of work. And this was in 2005, 6, where I stopped working. And I started in a wheelchair actually in 2007. And I've been in one ever since.
So at that point, they started medicating you after that?
Yes.
I mean, at some
Yes,
point.
ma'am. So like I said before, we were in Virginia, but then we moved back here. I don't remember the year exactly. But once we came back here, that's when I got a new doctor, a neurologist, and that's when they started me on some medications that worked a little bit for a while. But then I started having flare-ups to where the medications wasn't really working anymore, and the condition was progressing. And I had been on like about 5 MS medications that did that.
That caused your condition to progress?
Well, it didn't cause it to progress,
It wasn't helping.
but it wasn't really helping correct. I would be okay for a little while, but then I would have flare-ups. And it showed like in my MRIs that I was getting more and more lesions in my brain and on my spine. And my mother had to take me down that second flight of steps to take me to the emergency room. And upon going to the emergency room, of course they do all these tests and everything, and the doctor says, oh, well, it looks like you have MS, and basically just sent us back home.
Really?
No way.
Yes. And it was like, of course, I'm like 19 and, not really, how 19-year-olds are. It's like, okay, whatever. And I went back to my normal, like my body went back to normal and everything. And I was fine for about 10 years. I went back to school, graduated and everything. I went to college for CNA, was working, taking care of my son.
Okay, so right there. When you got the diagnosis in 19, bodies shut down, go to the emergency room. They say, oh, you might have MS. At that point, did you give you medication? Nothing?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Oh,
Like I said, like you have MS and basically sent us home.
So 10 years later, you living with the...
I was living, had finished school, and then I started working in child care, and started having some issues at work, where I couldn't really care for the kids, the preschool kids, and I would fall at work. My walking slowed down to where I had to hold on like the chairs and the wall and things like that. And my doctor was like, we're going to have to take you out of work. And this was in 2005, 6, where I stopped working. And I started in a wheelchair actually in 7. And I've been in one ever since.
So at that point, they started medicating you after that?
Yes.
I mean, at some
Yes,
point.
ma'am. So like I said before, we were in Virginia, but then we moved back here. I don't remember the year exactly. But once we came back here, that's when I got a new doctor, a neurologist, and that's when they started me on some medications that worked a little bit for a while. But then I started having flare-ups to where the medications wasn't really working anymore, and the condition was progressing. And I had been on like about 5 MS medications that did that.
That caused your condition to progress?
Well, it didn't cause it to progress,
It wasn't helping.
but it wasn't really helping correct. I would be okay for a little while, but then I was having flare-ups. And it showed like in my MRIs that I was getting more and more lesions in my brain and on my spine.
Can you tell, Mom, I want to know that's your daughter, that's your baby. How did you feel when your baby had that diagnosis, received that?
Well, at first, I was scared because I heard it limp and could not walk and everything. I was saying, well, Lord, it's something got to be wrong. But getting back to the first part, we was in Virginia, and I asked her one day, I said, Tasha, I said, did you know you was limping a little bit? She says, no. I said, you're limping a little bit. She said, well, I haven't really noticed that I was limping. I said, yeah, you are. You're limping just a little bit. You know, being a mother, you notice your children. And I knew something was wrong then. So she kept on for a while. I think that was after she went to the doctor when that happened. And she kept on, and I said, well, you got to go back to the doctor because something's not right. So we're going to call the doctor, make an appointment, and go back to the doctor because they got to do something. Because you were limping, your body got numb, you couldn't walk. It's something going on somewhere. That's when they found that, when they had x-rays and everything, they saw something real tiny on the brain. You know, like big as a needle. You know, I think it was 2 of them. So that's when they said, we think we have MS. So I guess they figured from there that she would be fine because it was so tiny,
Right.
you know. And then after that, she started feeling weak sometime on that side and everything. So like she said, she did good. Then when we left there and came to North Carolina, back to North Carolina, that's when she started getting, you know, a little bit worse. But as a mother, you're gonna worry because you don't know what's going on.
Absolutely.
And then she started going to the doctor, and I always ask, well, what do they say? What do they do? She tell me what to say, or what kind of medicine. You know, I'm gonna take the needle. I have to take the needle. She took the needle for a while. I said, I can't do it. Can you take the needle? She said, I can do it. I said, because your mama can't do it. You're gonna have to do it. I had to get my daughter. I didn't want to do it.
Right.
You know, she knows more herself when it's gonna hurt her. But it's kind of scary, just like it's scary now.
It's scary.
Because I trust and believe God, you know, and He's gonna take care of everything. But you still worry about your child. But I try not to, you know, and you know, you have to put yourself in that, what can I say? From a daily, daily thing going on in your life, you have to kind of take one day at a time and put stuff in perspective. And you say, Lord, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Just give me strength to deal with it and to take care of my daughter. And we have to like I think about it, But when I start thinking real hard about it, and I don't even tell her, I said, wait a minute, Lord. I'm not supposed to be doing this because you got my back.
That's right.
You got her back. So I can't do this to myself because it'll worry me. Then I'll start going down.
That's right.
So I can't do that. So I just, I have to do that, and I pray a lot. I pray a lot.
As the caregivers, as the moms,
Yes.
you all are the real MVPs. But we know that Tasha and Trey are the ones that are actually going through the motion. But they're showing us how to really live a blessed life with MS. Both of you guys. As a young man, would you have any advice you could give, a little short piece of advice you could give anybody as a young man with MS that you could share or encourage someone who may have gotten that diagnosis or may, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Sure, yes. I would say I heard a famous saying that my mom says. It says that MS might have me. What's the saying? Oh,
You have
yeah, that's it right there. But just keep living and keep yourself encouraged. Always stay moving and always pray. That's key.
Thank you, Trey. And Tasha, as a young lady, as a young woman, entrepreneur, business, your own business, and yet you're in a wheelchair, is any advice you would like to share before we get into the segment?
Yes, on the lines of agreeing with what Trey was saying, you definitely have to keep God first with everything you do and on a daily basis, and just keep pressing forward. Yes, sometimes, when you get to thinking, like my mother said, things just start swirling in your mind. But you have to, keep pressing forward, trusting in the Lord, and keep praying, because it's only God that will take you through on a daily basis.
And I would like to say, I am real proud of my daughter, even though she has MS. She is a strong person. She's a strong person in the Lord. And she's a praying person. She feels so bad, and I don't feel bad. And I said, when you feel like that, I don't feel good. You need me to do it? Mom, I'm fine. I know to leave her alone because she don't feel like talking. But once she starts feeling good, she'll say, come in where I am. Hey, Mama. And she's back. Where's she going? I said, I was just resting. She said, oh, okay. Well, I'm going in the kitchen. She's going to get us something to eat then. She feels good. So you can tell when she's feeling good and when she's not feeling good. But I am so glad that she's saved.
That's right.
She loves the Lord. She's a praying little lady, like I said. She don't make anything get her down.
That's right.
You never hear her complain about anything. She may say, I don't feel good. That's okay. Well, I got a headache. I'm going to take some. That's it. But just complain. She does not do that.
Well, I tell you, some of us complain over the smallest little thing. We stub our toes, we're complaining. So we applaud both of you, beautiful souls, and we thank you both for being here. You all stay tuned. We have another segment coming up, and we have some great information right after this. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Welcome back to Crystal Clear. Our guests are Miss Patricia Brower and Mr. Reginald Bowden and his lovely wife, Brenda Bowden. And again, we are talking about MS and we're giving you the awareness. Miss Patricia, you've been married for 25 years this year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can you share with our audience how you found out and how long ago, I guess, you were diagnosed with
Yes. Actually, I was diagnosed at 34 years old, and it was in 2004 actually, and I was working with the Department of Revenue, and my girlfriend and I used to walk at lunch. We would walk. Yeah, the first 30 minutes, then we would eat the last 30 minutes, and my balance was off really, really bad, and I really didn't know that it was MS or anything going on. I just thought I was clumsy, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah. And I was clumsy at home, and I was doing a lot of falling down. And so my husband, which I thought was insensitive at the time, he just told me one day, when are you going to get checked out? You know, that you keep falling down, and you know something has to be wrong with you, because I had headaches as well. Okay, so when I went to my primary care physician, he first, was concerned. He told me later he thought it was a brain tumor. So he said, I'm going to send you to a neurologist just to check you out. So he sent me to a neurologist, and when I went to the neurologist, they found lesions on my brain. And when I got the diagnosis, I was just like stunned, because I had an aunt that had multiple sclerosis. And then fear set in, because it was like I saw MS up close and personal, and I know how it, do people. And so, but once I overcame the fear and I accepted the fact that MS was my plot, I just said, Lord, I trust you, and just please help me through this situation. And he did.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
When you first found out, I guess, how did your husband kind of react to it?
Oh yes, he was very, and he has always been so supportive. Really, he has. And he's just told me he was with me. His exact words, and this is no exaggeration, when I got the diagnosis, he was crying and I was crying, and he told me that MS may affect my body, but it will not affect my soul or the true essence of who I am.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
that's no exaggeration, he really said that.
That's awesome, and he's right. You're a beautiful person.
Well, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. Reggie, what age were you when you found out that you were having this?
I was 20 years old.
20. Wow.
Years old.
Were you in school? Were you in?
Yeah, it was in 1990, and 20 years old. I was working at American Airlines at the time, and how it happened to me was I noticed throughout the day. I've always worked 2 jobs, and I was in between getting ready to go on my second job. And I noticed there was a little numbness on the side of my head, a little tingling feeling. So I said, man, I'm probably just working too many hours, just overdoing it. And after I got to work, I was working a little bit, still felt that tingling on the side of my head, in the back of my scalp. So after then, I was living by myself, went back to my apartment, and laid down. By that time, the whole left side of my body became numb, all the way down to my toes. I was like, man, something's going on. I don't know what's going on with my body. So, living by myself at the time, I called my mother, which lives in Fayetteville, about 60 miles away. And I said, I'm not feeling too good in my body. And I described what was going on. And just like mothers do, she was there within a few hours. And then the next day, I spent the night with her down in Fayetteville. And then the next day, she went to different doctors and things. And I finally found a doctor, and we did an MRI at the time. So that was my very first time doing an MRI. And then after I did the MRI, a few days later, they did the spinal tap, which spinal tap is this long needle.
Yes.
And they stick it in your spine to get fluid out your spine. And so with both of those, the MRI and the spinal tap, they came up with the idea that I have multiple sclerosis.
Okay. So, I mean, so were you tested like that?
Oh,
Is that how they normally do
They
the
mostly have to do 2 tests to confirm that it is MS because MS mimics other things.
Absolutely, yeah. So they do the spinal tap and the
MRI.
Okay. So that's when you found out you were with your mom. You were still working?
Yes, and
Continue work?
yeah, the strange thing about that, for probably a week, I had the numbness on the left side of my body, and then a week later, probably a little over a week, close to 2 weeks later, I was back to normal again.
That's kind of what my other guest was saying. Like, she was like 10 years later.
About
so
2
was it
weeks
that?
later.
So-
2 weeks later, I was back normal.
Back normal. So were you back normal for like 2 more weeks or 2 more years, or like when did you?
It's funny, I was back normal for years.
Amazing.
Years. Yeah, I was back normal for years, and then over the years, I started having a little limp,
Okay.
and and then I really just started doing medications probably maybe 3 years ago.
Oh wow.
After all these years having MS for 30 years, I said, well, I think I could, I'm the athletic type. I'm the athletic type. I think I could beat anything.
Right.
Of course, and I said, well, I can tap this. I can do this on my own. And of course, I probably I should have taken medication, and it probably would have slowed it down.
Right.
Probably wouldn't have been as bad as I am now.
Right.
But I really just started seriously taking medication probably about 3 years ago.
Oh really? So your symptoms came about, you say about 5 years ago? Like you started getting the symptoms of this?
Well, like I say, I have been having it for
Yes,
30
but
years.
right,
For 30 years, but over the years, it just slowly, I started developing a limp.
Okay, so that was your symptom, was the
Symptom,
limp. You
the
wasn't
limp.
feeling the numbness on the
No,
left
ma'am,
side?
just a limp.
Yeah, it was. Because it affects
It's
everyone differently.
differently, yeah. So did you start taking medication again?
Yes, I did. In 2005, I started out with the Abinest shot, but then they discovered that wasn't slowing the progression of the disease in my body. I mean, there is no cure for MS, and it just treats the symptoms.
Exactly.
And so when they discovered that the Abinest wasn't stopping the progression, they put me on the Tysabri, which is what I am on now. But when they first put it on the market, they had to take it off because it was giving people a rare brain disease, and it actually was killing some people. So they took it out of the market, and then they put it back on the market. So that's what I'm taking now. It's a monthly infusion.
Yes, I heard about that as well. So the danger of the drug is pretty much subsided. It's working for you as well.
And I think it was just for people that had a very low immune system.
Okay. Yeah, they practice medication. So you're 30 years you've been diagnosed with MS. Since that time, you have gotten married. You have a child, right?
Yes.
How did you, as your wife, feel about your husband's condition with the MS, Ms. Brother? Expound on that.
Well, I knew when we got married over 20 years ago that he had MS. I did not know a whole lot about it. And he didn't have the symptoms. Like by the time we met, he just said I had MS, but I didn't see the effects of it.
Right.
And actually, like you said, after we had been married maybe 15, 20 years, I started seeing a limp. And maybe 10 years ago, we did try a medicine, which you may have heard of it, called Serum. And that was where he was taking shots, which I could not give him the shots. I couldn't do it. So, he did it himself for a while, and then he just stopped taking it. And it wasn't until a few years ago it started progressing. And I kept encouraging him, as a wife, I was concerned. I was starting to see symptoms, and I kept encouraging him. And, I think he was, I don't want to say he was in denial, but he just didn't want to talk about it. And so I had to wait until he was ready. And then when he, I decided I'm gonna make a doctor's appointment because I kept seeing the progression of it. So I asked him if I were to make a doctor's appointment with him, and so that's where we started getting medical medication for the symptoms.
Wow. But as far as your everyday life, as it stands right now, does it affect you as far as being able to gainfully employed?
Yeah, just of course, I've been working all these years
Right.
and stuff, and the job that I was on, I always stood, walked around a lot.
Right.
Even though I had no limp, I've always stood all day, never bothered me. Walked around a lot, never bothered me. Then I just resigned probably close to a year ago, and now I'm on disability.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I tell you what, y'all are some strong individuals. I mean, MS, and I know from day to day you just don't know how you're gonna feel. In some cases, you just don't. And then we are human, so the unknown is not the best. You know, like we know we're human and we're Christian, so
Yes. Yes.
still the unknown. You
Exactly.
understand? So I understand. And I applaud you both. As a woman of a particular age, is there anything that you would, any advice if a woman walked in her doctor's appointment tomorrow at age 40 and got that diagnosis, anything that you could give or like to offer?
Oh, yes. Yes, I would definitely say never ever give up and always keep pushing forward. Like I said, MS affects everyone differently, and there's no two people that go through the same thing, but just keep trusting God and keep pushing forward.
Awesome. That's good advice.
And my advice was that when you first get diagnosed, don't do like I did. I guess somewhat in denial, but go get checked out as soon as possible. Whatever the doctors tell you to do, you do that what the doctors tell you to do. And also continue to be strong. And it's all about your mentality. Of course, keeping the Lord first, and that has been my anchor. That's been my source. Keeping the Lord first and having a relationship with Him. So that's what I have to say.
We're going to give you a card because we know how men are. Y'all don't like doctors. We're going to give you a pass for that, but we still don't believe God and pray with you and encourage you to keep on going. Well, there you have it, y'all. We have had the best of the best one here today. This has been a very good show. I hope you've become aware. I hope you've learned something that you didn't know. I certainly have. I've been around some amazing people. I shall not complain. That's what I want to leave with you on this evening. Thank you again for joining us on Crystal Clear Conversations. You all have a good night.